Cancer, welcome to your monthly horoscope for March 2026. I'm Adeana. I'm an intuitive astrologer. Let's get into the energy we'll be navigating for the month ahead. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you align with my energy and enjoy my content. So I break the months down by week and I select a chart for each week to give you a bit of a visual. So week 1 of March on the 2nd, the chart I selected actually for the first week is March 6th. Now on the 2nd, we have Mars entering Pisces. You have Pisces in your ninth house of higher education, higher knowledge, long distance travel, philosophy, wisdom, the bigger picture, how you kind of view the world in a bigger picture sense, like your philosophical beliefs and beliefs in general, your religious beliefs, that's all in the ninth house. And so we've had the nodes here for over a year now. And so these areas of life, your third and your ninth house, have been going through massive changes, and we are in eclipse season. So, there's more changes kind of coming in at this time for this area of life. Now, Mars entering your ninth house, Mars is that planet of anger, aggression, conflict, severing, separation. We do want to be careful of any long distance travel, courses, anything that really has to do with those ninth house themes and topics. With Mars transiting there, we just want to be a little bit cautious. On the 3rd, we have our total lunar eclipse in Virgo at 12 degrees, which is going to be in your third house. And this is where, so the south node represents our karmic comfort zones. This is also where we're moving away from something. There's something showing up in our world throughout the transit of having the south node here that we're moving away from, we're letting go, we're releasing. And because the South Node rules our karmic comfort zones, usually the shakeup, uh, yes, it can be challenging, but it's usually to shake us out of what we're used to put us on a new path. So this lunar eclipse is going to be kind of the next chapter to what you've already been in, the changes that's already taken place in these areas of life over the last year. Now that third house rules community and neighbors and neighborhood, your self-expression, like reading, speaking, writing, anything associated with reading, speaking, and writing and self-expression. Also, siblings and cousins are represented in the third house. Vehicles are represented in the third house. There's quite a lot packed in that third house. And so I know in these horoscopes, sometimes I could seem vague, but it's because I don't have your chart. And so kind of the energies and the changes you've been in for about a year. So this is just going to bring more of that change in. And you're probably already feeling what that's going to be coming into the month. I also have already a separate forecast going into this lunar eclipse if you want to check that out. Now, on the 5th, we have the sun forming a trine to Jupiter. So the sun is up here in Pisces in your ninth house, forming a trine to Jupiter, which is in your first house. Now, Jupiter is at a standstill. Jupiter is getting ready to station direct. And sometimes, especially with you, Cancer, you're probably feeling like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. Sometimes when Jupiter is getting ready to station, it's like we lose optimism. Because Jupiter rules optimism and our optimistic energies and hope, right? And so if that is something you've been navigating, just know that it will pass, okay? Jupiter is stationing direct on the 10th of March. However, at this point, Jupiter is still going to be retrograde once we get to um on March 5th when we have the sun trine Jupiter. But this is where there could be something really beautiful, like some positive support, some really beautiful energy coming in, maybe with a teacher or something that has to do with whatever you've been navigating up here in the ninth house around teaching or going back to school or courses or your belief systems. This is where something could click, especially too, if there's something around your belief systems that's been shaken up lately, something can make sense here. Like if you've been struggling with maybe religious beliefs or just beliefs in general, something could really click on this day. On the 6th, we've got Venus entering Aries, and you have Aries in your 10th house of career and public reputation. So Venus entering Aries in the 10th house can bring support or connections into your career or your public reputation. Like maybe there's something going on with your career, you meet new people. Venus doesn't do the greatest in Aries, but there's a lot of new energy in Aries, right? We now have Saturn and Neptune in Aries. So I would love to hear in the comments below so far how you've been navigating this energy, as none of us has really ever experienced Neptune in Aries ever. And so I'm curious to see how everyone's navigating that for my own research purposes. But shortly after, excuse me, shortly after Venus enters Aries, on the 7th, Venus is going to form a conjunction to Neptune. And then on the 8th, Venus is going to form a conjunction to Saturn. And this is where there could be confusion, illusion. We're not seeing things clearly, also, too, because coming into the month, we've got the Mercury retrograde in Pisces. And so that first week of the month, there could just be a lot of like lack of clarity, lack of understanding. But that is going to get better as we move through the month. Once we get to the second week of March, the chart I selected for this is March 13th. And on the 9th, we've got Mercury retrograde forming a trine to Jupiter retrograde. So Mercury retrograde is up here in your ninth house and is going to form a trine to Jupiter retrograde. Now, the day after, Jupiter is going to station direct. But what was showing up for you around February 16th? Because that is when Mercury first formed a trine to Jupiter. And now Mercury is going to connect to Jupiter again. And so, what was showing up around the 16th of February? That's going to give you an idea of what can possibly be showing up again during this Mercury retrograde trine to Jupiter. On the 10th, Jupiter stations direct, and we also have Venus forming a sextile to Pluto, which I just kind of threw this in here because it could bring in some type of powerful transformation or something going on with work, finances, shared resources, something along those lines. Venus also rules your 11th house of friendships and social groups and your fourth house of home, family, property, and real estate. So there could be some type of transformation or something being exposed or something kind of surfacing with this Venus sextile to Pluto. And then we also have on the 13th Mars forming a conjunction to the North Node. And this is where we all get fire under our ass and want to move forward with something. But because of the Mercury retrograde and all of the other coinciding energies, it's like things just are not going into place. It's like we have this urge to move forward with something and get things going, but we're having to wait. So yeah, it's just it's one of those energies. I will say though, I've been telling all the signs, I highly recommend journaling this entire month because there is going to be a lot showing up, especially with the Mercury retrogrades, with like sudden epiphanies, intuitive downloads, premonitions, dreams. So I definitely recommend everybody to journal. This can be one of those days with the Mars conjunct the North Node because there's been so many planets conjunct the North Node that whatever you've been navigating the last month, there is finally action. There's finally forward movement with something. And then on the 15th, we've got Mercury retrograde forming a conjunction to Mars at 10 degrees. And this again could have to do with whatever you are taking action with. But again, there's still this lack of clarity, lack of understanding. And we're not going to get that full, like, real clarity till Mercury stations. But it is a day, again, to jot down, what is showing up for you around intuitive downloads, what's sticking out to you, what important conversations are you having? Then we get to the third week of the month, and the chart I selected here is March 18th. And on the 17th, we have Mercury retrograde forming a conjunction to the North Node. And so Mercury is actually going to station direct pretty much on top of that North Node, but first form that exact conjunction. Again, pay attention on the 17th. What is showing up in your world around conversations, intuitive downloads, thoughts? It's that Mercury retrograde energy with the North Node. This all has to do with some new direction that you're moving into when we're talking about the North Node. On the 18th, we have the new moon in Pisces at 28 degrees. And that new moon is forming a sextile to Uranus. So this is not an eclipse. However, it's still going to be powerful and it's still going to have to do with the changes that you've been navigating in this area of life over the last year. This is where something new can show up, something new can come in around whatever you've been navigating. The sextile to Uranus can bring in amazing breakthroughs. We also have Venus squaring Jupiter on this day as well. And so Venus is going to be here in your 10th house of career, public reputation, squaring Jupiter. This is where we can have too much of a good thing, too much of a bad thing. We want to be careful of overdoing it with Venus square Jupiter, especially Venus is in your 10th house. And Venus also rules again your 11th house and your fourth house. So there could be something around home and family members you're having to navigate, or even something around friendships, social groups, social circles, online connections you're having to navigate. This is just where there is something blown up out of proportion. It's like too much of a good thing or too much of a bad thing because it's a square. It's usually when we spend too much money or we overdo it, we overindulge in some way. And then on the 20th, we have the sun entering Aries, and Mercury is going to station direct on the 20th. So the sun is bringing more energy into that 10th house of career, more focus into your career and public reputation. And Mercury is then going to station direct pretty much on top of that north node. So again, this is a day. Pay attention what is showing up for you. With that Mercury station, especially on that North Node, this is going to be an important day to pay attention to important conversations, information, all those mercurial themes and topics, and plus your intuitive downloads and dreams. And then on the 21st, we have Mars forming a trine to Jupiter. So Mars is going to be here in Pisces, forming a trine to Jupiter. Mars doesn't really do the greatest in Pisces, but this is like a water trine. So this could be something really powerful with our emotions, our intuition, and where something can click with, again, whatever you've been navigating in this area of life. And at this point, Jupiter is going to be direct. So this could be where there finally is some forward movement with something. And then on the 22nd, we have the sun forming a conjunction to Neptune. So the sun's going to be in your 10th house forming a conjunction to Neptune. And this is going to be interesting because the sun does really good in Aries, but Neptune is what makes things very confusing. And also the sun being our life force energy and vitality, there's something dissolving or something that is just blurred on this day. That's the 22nd. So the 22nd of March, yeah, just be a little bit mindful, watch like what's going on. Um, just you might not be seeing things clearly. It's just a day to just like kind of be cautious of with that Neptune energy because it can be a bit of a mixed bag. Then we get to the fourth week, and the chart I selected here is March 28th. And on the 25th, we're going to have the sun forming conjunction to Saturn and also sextile Pluto. And then on the 28th, we have Saturn sextile Pluto. So for the first few days of that final week, from the 25th to the 28th, the sun connects to Saturn. This is where, yes, Saturn is that planet of commitment and responsibility, but also the planet of limitation, challenge, and hardship. So it's kind of hard to say without seeing your chart exactly how this could show up. But this could be more responsibility at work, or this could be like a block or a hold or a stop to something. And then with the sextile to Pluto, there could be like, again, an opportunity for transformation of some kind when it has to do with shared resources, partners' finances, or something being even exposed in some sense. And then on the 30th, we have Venus entering Taurus. So then Venus is going to enter Taurus in your 11th house of friendships and social groups and online connections. And this is where maybe as we reach the end of the month, the energy is starting to become a little bit lighter. Um, However, once we get into April, Uranus is going to enter Gemini. So we're in a whole other can of energy and a can of worms, I guess. But Venus is at home in Taurus. So this is a great energy for socializing and doing online work and social media and all of that fun stuff. All right, Cancer. Well, I hope this helps you navigate the energy for March. And let me know in the comments below if you have any questions at all. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you align with my energy and enjoy my content. And I'll connect with you in the next one.